Hello chess friends and lovers of chess. In this video, we're going to look at the term called Gambit in chess. Gambit in chess is an opening move in which a player makes a sacrifice, typically of a pawn, for the sake of a compensating advantage. The goal of a gambit is usually for rapid development and some weaknesses in the enemy's position. Let's look at the types of compensating advantages with examples. The reason why someone would love to play the gambit in the first place, number one, will be for development. Let's take a look at that with this example. White plays e4, black responds with e5. With knight to f3 going after the pawn, black defends. d4 introduces the gambit in this position. In this variation, let's say black takes the pawn. Another pawn to c3, black takes. Bishop to c4, pawn takes on b2, bishop takes the pawn on b2. With respect to development, check out the light squared bishop, very active, targeting f7 pawn. The dark squared bishop for white player is also active through this long diagonal. Just look at this bishop and this. They are quite sad, undeveloped. There's a pawn in the center controlling this square and controlling this square, which is good for white. So, a reason to play the gambit in the first place is development. And soon, white is prepared to castle the king faster than black. A second reason for a player to play the gambit is to open lines of actions or lines of attack towards the enemy. Let's take a look at this example. In this case, d4 is played by white, d5, pawn to e4. In the heart of the board, the gambit struck. Let's say black takes and accepts the gambit. White develops the knight to c3, attacking the pawn. Black plays a counter attack. Just observe, in this position, this light squared bishop already have a free diagonal to come into the game, either to stop on c4 or to stop on b5. In this case, this pawn is under attack, so we can advance the pawn to create more tension. If knight to e5, queen attacks the knight. If knight to g6, then we can unleash the terror of the bishop via this diagonal by playing bishop to b5 check. You see, with respect to line of actions and open lines of attack, the bishop is free, now is tempting and terrorizing black. In some cases, black may continue with this move, thinking it's the best and logical, but there's a trap connected to this. After pawn takes pawn, giving up the queen, we can play this move. Pawn takes, a discovered check to the king. If the king will move, pawn takes this rook, becomes a queen, and this game is winning here from this position for white. Observe this bishop, soon is coming into the game through this diagonal. The king will be castled longside, and there's trouble against the black king. The third reason why someone will love to play the gambit is to control the center. With this example, where white plays e4, black plays e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4. If bishop to c5, we can throw in b4. This introduces the Evans gambit. In most cases, bishop takes pawn. Then c3 follows, attacking the bishop. If bishop moves back to a5, then d4 follows. Observe, in this case, this bishop may likely retreat back. If pawn takes, then many other activities can come in, like queen using its diagonal to go to b3, placing pressure against f7. The center was open, that is why that attack was valid. This pawn is strong, controlling this square and this square. Then once the bishop moves, this pawn regains position in the center. White is prepared to castle. So with respect to the center, we can see why gambits are being played. Let's look at a fourth reason why we play gambit. The fourth reason why we play gambit can be connected to bishop pair. And in this example, you get a better understanding. After e4, e5, d4, this is where the gambit comes in. In this case, black takes, c3, black takes, bishop to c4, here black takes, and bishop takes the pawn on b2. Just observe. The bishop are very strong together. The bishop covers this diagonal. This bishop covers this diagonal. This diagonal. So queen is coming. Knight is coming. Knight will be developed. King will be castled. Just observe. The two bishops are quite stronger, happier, and activated compared to the bishop of the black player. For the sake of gambit, this should be the fifth reason why a player plays the gambit. In this case, we are going to look at a term called deflection. This particular variation favors black. So, in a case where e4 comes up and b6, d4 followed, bishop to b7. For the purpose of deflection, I played a move bishop to d3, just to show you the effect of deflection by gambiting a pawn. This is where gambit becomes very useful for black. By playing f5. In the case of f5, if white takes this pawn, then the first victim for this. So that pawn was meant to deflect the pawn so that black can have access to take this pawn and capture the rook. A beautiful reason, which is the sixth reason why a player would love to play the gambit, is to deprive his opponent from castling. The inability to castle and keep the king safe. So when the king is in the open, the king is exposed to many attacks. So let's look at this example. I'm going to connect it to the famous alien gambit, which starts with e4. After c6, knight to c3. If d5, knight to f3. After pawn takes on e4, knight takes, knight to c6. In this case, knight did not capture knight. Just play knight to g5. After h6, then knight takes the pawn on f7. Black has no choice but to capture that knight. In this particular case, white gambled the knight. So, what to do? If knight is not captured, queen will be captured or the rook. So, if black takes, the black has lost the ability to castle. And this is a reason why someone can play gambit. With these 6 reasons I've listed in this video, I believe you can win more games and have a reason to play the gambit. Thank you for watching and see you in next videos.